Guys, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone is doing good. Back with another video. This time I'm gonna change it up a little bit, kind of talk about something that I find very interesting, which is the topic of everything that's going on, but from the approach of the psychological operation, the warfare, the information warfare aspect of it, the AI, the tech, how it's all tied together to crypto, digital assets, and just overall a web of connections that are very interesting and that are hard to really look past them once you have been exposed to some of this type of information. You'll start to really see things a different way. So let me start off with this random screenshot of a conversation I found probably like a year ago. Digging into some of the archives on the web, I found this conversation that seems to be from, and I'll show you right now. He posts a picture here, but it seems to be from someone who's apparently tied to the JP Morgan family, I believe is what he mentions. I think he mentions he worked for the NSA or Secret Service or CIA or something as a coder, computer programmer. So let me show you some of this. So it looks like they're basically talking about the algorithms and the AI on the web and how information is funneled. And as you can see, he's going to tie it into the Q movement. So let me show you some of this. And this kind of ties into research and, how you research and the information you're getting and, really learning to use discernment, which is also influenced a lot by your biases, because your biases determine what information you're going to search. If you're biased, if you're not, that really makes a difference in how the algorithm tailors information to you. As you can see here, he's talking about the data that gets collected on us on the web. The entire business, social media, their entire business model relies on an accurate assessment of identity based on metadata signals. The ads you see are based on millisecond auctions, making very accurate assessments of who you are so they know what ad to show you. If you spoof the metadata you submit to the bid auction, then the ad you will see will confirm if you've spoofed the metadata correctly. Want to convince Google you're a 35-year-old black female making $50,000 a year? Submit the metadata you think such a person would submit, and Facebook and Google will have no choice but to tell you if you guess correctly. Keep at it and you will eventually get it correct, and you will have confirmation that you have tricked the largest and most powerful identity confirmation processes on the planet. So it's talking about how these people collect our data. Everything is based off our signals, which come from the reactions that we get from whatever intel is presented to us while we're looking for information, right, on the web. Here he talks about, this is important right here, butterfly war. Seems to be a good topic to look into if you're interested. Look up things like butterfly war AI, butterfly war algorithm, and you should find some information on that. So continuing reading this, but how do you know big players are using butterfly war and what are their motives for using it? My 8chan post lasted 4 months. I guess he was involved in helping with something having to do with the dark web. I appeared weeks before the whole, here it is. So I appeared weeks before the whole Q thing popped off. My timing was key as I knew there were large players that were scanning 8chan. Honeypots tripped off all over the place. It started with a Playboy interview with Milo, blah, blah, blah. I told him things, he told me things, we formed a working relationship. I bought 20,000 bots for Milo when Milo first supported Gamergate. Not really sure what that is, but mainstream media outlets were attacking gamers in an election year in an attempt to create the new KKK. So as you can see here, he's talking about being involved in some of these bots that are created for some of the web or URLs Good bots, not the crap tier ones you see today. First round was manned by actual people in the Philippines. Interesting. They eventually went full AI, bad AI, and are now detectable. So he's talking about AI. So here's where it starts getting interesting. Here it is. This is where it gets really interesting. Art did not mention me this piece, but I knew that it was going to be the case. So I went to his editor and told her I knew another project that was coming soon. She put me in touch with Brian Menegas at Gizmodo. That's when I told him about Psychic Warrior Project. The wording is spooky and silly, but it's accessible and descriptive. I told him the Chans were being used by the Department of Defense to recruit and train people in postmodern total warfare. For example, one of the techniques that massively improves AI accuracy is called knockout training. It's when you give training data to the learning phase but randomly knock out input. This forces the AI to make guesses about the missing data, which improves its subsequent guesswork by 50%. And I think a lot of these techniques that he's talking about, I think I've done unconsciously, just from digging into research for so long. Because the reason I say that is because it's just so easy for me to find information now. I don't know if it's me or if it's the information being shown to me that I'm accessing, but I do have a very sporadic and very wide perspective on things. So, I think it's very hard to pin down an algorithm on me just because I can approach everything from many perspectives with minimal biases and objectively, and I'm able to change my mind once I get new facts that support new data. A new result. So I think that really helps a lot with these algorithms and trying to outsmart them. But if I continue here, for example, knockout training. Okay, here it is. Imagine if I gave you a book, but every third page was ripped out. You'd still be able to piece together the story, and you'd have a much more vivid imagination. That's as close to psychic as one can get with AI, but with humans, you can go an extra step. One human can predict the future very well, but if you put people together, they can predict the future much more accurately. Now, let's say instead of handing you a book where every third page is ripped out, I instead hand you every ripped out third page and they're out of order. And I start dropping clues about how to put them in order. And I give these clues to gamers who had spent 10,000 hours working with one another to solve complex puzzles on demand with each other in games, and a smaller subset of them who had also took charge in a political fight via Gamergate. Does any of this sound familiar? Q? Bingo. I'm confused. A few weeks after telling Menegas, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, about the can't really see, Psychic Warrior Project Q. A few weeks after telling Menegas about the Psychic Warrior Project, Q appeared. I think that's what it says. A few weeks after telling... Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, you're right. I don't know why that's blacked out. The project has several names. One of them is 4ST, right? So let's take that down, and we'll come back to that, because that's where things get... that's where you can kind of find information on this, right? So 4ST. You'll see some websites here, right? I don't want to spoil it, but I'll come back and tie this later. You think Q is a DoD project? I absolutely believe Q to be a DoD project relating to IARPA and as part of the larger Messiah warfare strategy. There are 90 million gamers in America. They are standing cyber militia that can be assembled as citizen soldiers. They've been training to control drones their entire lives. The DoD would be beyond inept if they didn't realize this. What does Q accomplish? So what does Q accomplish? Q is a seeder. Let me back up a bit. Cass Sustain spent an inordinate amount of time trying to stop conspiracy theories. Did Menegas ever publish? No, I knew he wouldn't. But I knew one day someone would come and ask me what you are asking me, and Menegas has the emails, timestamped and everything. He was just a proof of statement. Sustain's time at the NSA was spent trying to find ways. Let me just put this here, it's important. Sussing's time at the NSA was spent trying to find ways to make internet communities self-censor one another, to criminalize conspiracy theories, and to stop people from repeating rumors on an infrastructure that was literally designed to spread rumors. Interesting. Let me read that one more time. To criminalize conspiracy theories and to stop people from repeating rumors on an infrastructure that was literally designed to spread rumors. A Sisyphean task, and one he earnestly took on. But the NSA can only watch. They don't have the legal authority or resources to engage. Sunstein thought he could nudge communities from such a high level of authority. He was hilariously wrong, and Butterfly War is a reaction against his hubris. You can't have self-censorship if you can't verify identity. No identity equals no social bond equals no social penalty. Right? So this is very important, because this is how I show you that. This is how I'll show you that this is all psychological warfare, psychological information warfare, and Q is real. Q is 100% real, right? Who's responsible for it? We'll get back to that maybe hopefully another video, because I don't really know, but I can show you guys connections. With this background, your question about what does Q accomplish gets a different light. The Q team is the seeder. Let's explore an idea, right? I'll be back in 15 minutes. Ponder what social properties 8chan promotes. So 8chan is, for those of you who don't know, it's the forums that I think they used to be on the dark web, and now I don't know if they still are. I don't know how that works. When I hopped in it was a while back, and it was through Tor browser, so I'm not sure how to access it now. I haven't really tried, but ponder what social properties 8chan promotes and which ones they suppress. That allows something like Q to flourish. It's not just the people that go to the chans, it's the very nature of the communication style and infrastructure that filters for certain types of people. Anonymous communication isn't just for cowards and social rejects. This is so important right here, this next paragraph. The very concept of social reject is a poor label, as if they were social rejects. Then they shouldn't even be socializing with each other, and yet they do. No one is born understanding the value of secrecy and masks. Such things are learned through pain and mistake. I'll read that again. Such things are learned through pain and mistake. Anonymous channels then collect those who failed at cultural war, either frontline participants who actually took social penalties, or those born after the conflict whom the victor's propaganda isn't influencing or cannot reach. The 1960s had fantastic propaganda, world-class myth-making. Eventually, such a powerful look became the first and final line of defense for the post-60s order of bankers and international financiers. Over time, anonymous channels attracted the displaced of that culture conflict. On anonymous channels, there's no identity, so there's no social bond. So there's no social penalty. Gripes against the world order can be discussed at length without fear of retaliation. Sunstein had no power over anonymous channels. Q only works where social penalty isn't possible. I'll put that down. I think that's an important fucking quote. Q only, right? So Q only works where social penalty isn't possible. If you've ever endured social penalty, you will see the world differently. You will see a potential for conflict in every word you say with every person you meet. It trains your brain to think steps ahead, to glimpse into the future and predict human action. When sustained long enough, you even begin to learn how to influence other people in ways that appeal to their biases while ultimately undermining their position. You won't reach these prediction conclusions via logic, however. You won't have a scientifically reproducible chain of reasoning that others can go, oh, okay, that makes sense. You'll just have gut feelings and unconscious conclusions about complex social situations. These are the psychic warriors of the future. Q is rallying them. That is what Q accomplishes. Q is the seeder, the forum is the filter. The result are the highly defined talent that are capable of navigating the postmodern total war scenarios of the future. How long will you find your industry exists when a nation state can generate hundreds of deepfakes per day of every single politician, general, celebrity, or a position of authority? The world will drown in scandal, and investigators will be too slow. Social damage happens faster than fact-checking can repair. The future of warfare and journalism, intelligence gathering, and critical thinking are no longer enough. You're going to need psychics. I don't mean to be so stern and dire, but the future is a place most can't even recognize. Thankfully, it is the first time our species has dealt with this problem. Okay, so here's talking about Q, talking about the importance of it. So if you see here, right, isn't it illegal for the DoD, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the DoD has a long history of being involved in American domestic warfare, MK Ultra. Let me see. It talks about Obama, how he's involved in this. DoD works with Hollywood all the time. I know this because I was literally in one of those meetings. Here he talks about Space Wars. He said that India and China will leverage public and private sectors to dominate us in space. He was right. That was in early 2016, and it was basically a Space Force meeting long before the concept was revealed. Right? So he said he was part of one of these meetings, begging Hollywood executives to stop making films about the government solving space travel problems and instead make films where individuals solve space travel problems. So interesting. It goes into, I'll post this link if you guys want, but here it talks about Hillary Clinton. It goes into Google. It talks about just a lot of interesting things. I don't want to show his fake face because, here, I am a close relative to JP Morgan bloodline. I have met with the Rothschild before. In fact, that was that meeting that forced me to go to public with Butterfly War. All right, so interesting shit here. Ties into Cicada 3301. All right. Y'all need to look up Cicada 3301 if you haven't. It's a very interesting topic. So this is a long conversation. I'll post it. But let me see if I can sum this up a little more. All right, so programmer by trade, so that we know what he does. The theme I'm establishing is one of information warfare, but not conducted in the space of bits, 0 days, and supercomputers. That type of conflict is our grandparents' cyberpunk. Tomorrow's info wars are about epistemology and Gnosticism. I need to do research on those words because I don't really know what they mean. Epistemology and Gnosticism. All right. Which leads me to my third piece of evidence. I was approached by CIA in 2007 about my theories on data collection. They were just getting started rolling out their massive data collection apparatus and hit a known problem. You may be able to collect all the data, but not all data is valuable within budget windows and operational parameters. How do you target just information you need? Another way of asking, how do you convert noise into signal? Or how do you turn data into knowledge? From the very onset of the problem, the challenge of mass surveillance was always an epistemological challenge. Right? And it talks about how they basically base everything off our human behavior. Everything is a reaction from humans, so those signals can be collected and data can be acted upon accordingly. So, very, very interesting shit. All right, so normal dude looks like he's just a programmer. He happens to be tied into some families that, it's big names. But before I stop on this, let me show you something cool right here. So if you do, see this post this. Okay, so if you do some digging, right? Let me show you guys this. Very interesting if you guys wanted to look this up. One day I was doing research, and if you look up Ripple IARPA, I don't know how I decided to do this search one day, but if you do that, you'll be able to find some interesting things that come up, which really do tie to what we were just talking about with the algorithms and how they conduct these experiments to collect data. And it seems like Ripple seems to be involved. I think it has to do with the superconductor market. And I don't know how Ripple's involved in that. Let's see, actually. Ripple, but I know they're involved somehow. Ripple superconductor. That's interesting here. I'll go back to this on a different topic, but if you look at this, right, you'll be able to see some interesting things come up. This brain initiative thing was interesting. You'll see a lot of things involving the DoD. This is interesting right here too. This is how I know that guy wasn't bullshitting. Advanced Research Projects Activity, right? An NSF award, a gift from Ripple, and a JP Morgan faculty fellowship. So it looks like he was not tied, but he was definitely around this topic, with whatever he was doing for his day-to-day. He was definitely around this subject, right? So he has some kind of insight on it. White House EO shifts security clearance, ops to DoD. Wednesday, Trump signed an executive order that shifts responsibility for federal government security, suitability, and credentialing background investigations to the Department of Defense, making an official move that has been long in the works. Wow, so I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's very interesting, actually. But if you can see, if you keep searching that, you're gonna find things like this. Watch Ripple IARPA, and then let's search that word that I saved earlier from reading that conversation, which was for, right? ST. Now, when you search these topics, you're gonna run into a bunch of topics or a bunch of intel that discusses a lot of these programs, right, that are done through the IARPA and other agencies, but that are basically they're studying forecasters, super forecasters. The goal of the 4ST program is to develop and test methods for generating accurate forecasts for significant science and technology milestones by combining the judgments of many experts. So it just goes into even more programs here that I've run into before that tie into everything going on with the psychological operation, this information warfare that's happening, Q most likely, and just very interesting connections that are very hard to overlook because, it kind of validates a lot of the stuff that's going on, right? It's a matter of learning discernment is what they're studying, right? They're studying how people discern information, and they're trying to get us to a point where that improves significantly, right? In order for us to basically come together and outsmart AI, aggregative, contingent estimation, advanced techniques that elicit weight and combine the judgments of many intelligence analysts. So it's all about forecasting, right? How super forecasters are thinking about the future, which is tied to a lot of what we're seeing now. And it happens to be that Ripple's tied to this. And I remember reading one of these articles, and it actually talks about Ripple. And when I was digging into this, I also found this. Watch. It looks like this is for smart electrically powered and networked textile systems, which is basically AI clothing, so and then being able to basically pick up more of our biometric data. And I know, don't quote me on this, but I remember hearing that Palantir is involved with Lululemon, and they're eventually that's going to be the clothes of the future, which is going to be wearable electronics that have the ability to capture our biometric data, which I think is going to come down to, just a lot of the AI, right, and the algorithms. But interesting topics to look up, right? Here's another one, Ripple IARPA, and I ended up on this. Kind of breaks down super forecasters and what they are, kind of their qualities. This is interesting right here. This is what they've come to. This is their portrait of the model super forecaster, or the ideal super forecaster in their eyes based on their data. They would have a philosophical outlook when it comes to being cautious. Nothing is certain. Humble. Reality is infinitely complex. Non-deterministic. Whatever happens is not meant to be and does not have to happen. Open-minded, intelligent, with a need for cognition, which means intellectually curious, enjoys puzzles and mental challenges. Comfortable with numbers. Value diverse views and synthesize them into their own. Judge using many grades of maybe. When facts change, they change your mind. Very important. Aware of the value of checking and thinking for cognitive and emotional biases. The most important right there. That's what gets people tripped up. So just wanted to kind of show you guys some of this interesting stuff I found a while back. Let me know what you guys think. I'll share some of this stuff on the comments. That way you guys can check it out. Like this is a good one if I can get it to pull up. I guess not. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. So this is a good one, man. I found this. I don't know who wrote this article, but it's very interesting. It's talking about spiritual awakening and the symptoms that some people may be having with some of the spiritual awakening that's happening with the Kundalini energy that's rising, and talks about, kind of ties in back to what I was just going over with the biometrics and how, just their perspective, how that's tied to the spiritual awakening and our symptoms and, electronics malfunctioning and very interesting stuff. So I'll post it for you guys. And look, it even talks about, to read more on the topic of how one person started experimenting with the algorithms to prove the theory, you can look into Butterfly War, which is exactly what the other guy talked about. Right? So it's definitely tying together. But you guys have a good day.